Howdy, this is Adam Reynolds, and this is my presentation for PSAA 604 concerning the West Fertilizer Company explosion. I'll begin with some of the background of the West Fertilizer Company explosion. At approximately 7:29 p.m. on the night of April 17, 2013, firefighters responded to a report of a fire at the West Fertilizer Company plant. At approximately 7:53 p.m., the 911 dispatch center received a report of an explosion. The caller indicated that there were many victims. Among the 15 casualties, 12 were firefighters from 5 different fire departments responding that night, including volunteers from the West, Abbott, Merkel, Bruceville Eddy, and Dallas fire departments. 260 individuals were injured that evening. The majority of the injuries were abrasions and lacerations, while some of the injuries range from traumatic brain injury, tympanic membrane ruptures, inhalation injuries, fractures, and sprains. More than 100 residents of a local nursing home had to be evacuated, and nearby schools were closed for a week following the accident due to toxic ammonia fumes. Continuing with some more background on the West Fertilizer Company explosion, there were $230 million estimated in total insurance-related losses. $16 million in federal disaster assistance was provided. It was the most destructive incident ever investigated by the U.S. Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board, and it registered as a 2.1 on the Richter scale. As you can see from these opposing pictures, the devastation of the explosion was horrific. These photos depict a clear view of the devastation as well as the proximity of the local middle school and nursing home in relation to the West Company fertilizer plant. Again, this photo shows the devastation to the local apartment complex. When we discuss response issues resulting in injuries and death and damage, 3 issues stand out. The lack of implementing the incident command system. The Chemical Safety Board found that of those who responded, none of the emergency response personnel had been trained in NIMS. No one formally assumed the position of incident commander, which would have been responsible for coordinating the incident command system. There was a lack of discussion noted by the firefighters on scene of who should be designated as the incident commander. Another issue was the lack of implementing the incident management system. Response personnel did not take time to set up, implement, or coordinate an effective incident management system plan to ensure the evacuation of nearby residents. Many of the injuries could have been avoided or been less severe if an appropriate evacuation plan had been issued. Finally, a lack of knowledge and understanding of the detonation hazards of field-grade ammonium nitrate. This lack of knowledge contributed to the first responders' deaths by not understanding the lethality of the scene. When we talk about recovery issues, we have to talk about the utilization of the land. Allowing residents, schools, nursing homes, and businesses to be located in such close proximity complicated recovery issues. Rebuilding remains an issue. Many years after the explosion, lots remain vacant, and for many years following the explosion, enrollment numbers dropped at local schools significantly. While progress has been made, we know that the recovery process will be a long one. Similarly, the financial impact on the town and its residents continues to be an issue. Emergency management recommendations to mention would be the necessity for proper training on the hazards of high-risk facilities such as the West Fertilizer Company. Developing standard operating procedures for local first responders and emergency planners should be created for facilities such as fertilizer plants and other high-risk facilities that impact the community should a disaster or catastrophe occur. And finally, pre-incident planning and response training for emergency management personnel, including tabletop exercises, is essential with such a facility in their town. Following the explosion, there was a focused effort to update industry standards. The National Fire Protection Association 400 in 2016 requires new and existing facilities to have emergency action plans clearly state that the quote, fire potentially affecting Afghan storage beyond the initial incipient stage shall not be approached by facility personnel, end quote. Responsible Ag is an industry-led initiative committed to helping agribusiness properly store and handle farm input supplies. The program helps members ensure that they are compliant with environmental, health, safety, and security regulations to keep employees, customers, and our community safe. The safety and security guidelines for storage and transportation of fertilizer-grade ammonium nitrate at fertilizer retail and distribution facilities was submitted for the purpose to outline best practices for the safety and security of fertilizer-grade ammonium nitrate in storage and in transportation at fertilizer retail facilities. Additional recommendations, such as appropriate sprinkler and fire mitigation systems, must be installed at ammonium nitrate facilities. The Chemical Safety Board noted that having appropriate sprinkler or fire suppression systems could have put out the fire and stopped the explosion. The International Council Code was recommended by CSB to update ventilation requirements for facilities that handle field-grade ammonium nitrate, as well as the construction material requirements. In conclusion, the key takeaway from this study is to showcase the value of appropriate emergency planning and emergency response plans, as well as an understanding of the high-risk facilities in the area while incorporating recommended mitigation efforts. The financial impact of this disaster is still being felt years later. Loss of infrastructure and business continue to have their effect on the local economy. Mitigation can be costly. However, the importance of mitigation efforts for facilities such as this could have resulted in diminished loss of life and property, as well as lasting long-term effects of this disaster on the community and its recovery efforts. This concludes my presentation. Thanks for your time, and gig 'em.